Hello everybody, welcome back to the FIA ETRC Digital. This weekend we are at a virtual Zolder. We have got this and then two more championship weekends still to go, with the season being wrapped up in the middle of August. Norbert Kish is storming away in the title race. He comes here 63 points ahead. There's another 80 available after this weekend. So if he has a really good run and Sascha Lenz has a ghastly evening of racing, it's possible even that Norbert Kish could sew up the championship. So calculators at the ready as much as anything else. This is David Addison. We're looking forward to two races, of course. The first with a grid based on what we see in Superpole. And then, and you know the form, you reverse the top 8 finishing positions to get the grid for the second race. And that is the one that's always very lively indeed. The Zolder Circuit is a good old school track, like many that are on the FIA ETRC calendar, be it digital or real world. It's a circuit with a proper truck racing pedigree. It's a circuit that the championships and the forerunner to the FIA series, the old European Truck Racing Organisations Championship, have been going to for years. There's a limited runoff at certain parts. It's a circuit that always gives close racing. Overtaking's not that easy. You've got to be forceful and you can't afford to make mistakes. It's also, of course, the former home of the Belgian Formula One Car Grand Prix. It still has a 24-hour endurance race for GT and touring cars and a busy calendar of national events. But one of the highlights of the season is always truck racing, and the truck's already on track indeed for Superpole. It's probably time we crossed over to the circuit and had a look at who is doing what, because Norbert Kish has been the man to beat thus far. Is he going to remain that man? Well, actually, thus far, no. Sascha Lenz it is. There you see him, topping the times with just 5 minutes on the clock, still to run. And Sascha Lenz, we know, is a very rapid pilot indeed. But where is Norbert Kish going to factor in come the end of the session? The entry list has inevitably one or two changes to it. One is that Jose Eduardo Rodriguez has elected not to race this evening. Lucas Hahn has stepped away from the championship. But Heinrich Clemens Hecker, missing for a medical reason, and that is kidney stones. We wish him well and hope that... these are not virtual kidney stones, by the way. These are real kidney stones, giving him grief. We hope that he is fully recovered in 2 weeks' time, when the next digital round is, and indeed, of course, for the start of a real world season. So Clemens Hecker, get well soon. There, heading past us, is Adam Nachko, 6th currently in the times. There is the 55 Freightliner of the Bagheera Racing team. Now, Sascha Lenz quicker than the returning Antonio Alberthetti here by half a second, as you see Jamie Anderson just flicked through the shot. There, going down towards the Terlamen-Bocht, is Nachko. Behind him is Lenz, and then Jonathan Andre. Now, remember that tweak to the regulations put in a couple of rounds back, which allows those that have not been registered for the full championship nor for the real world championship to score 50% of the points rather than none at all. Jonathan Andre, the team manager at the Lahn Truck Racing Squad, taking over from Anthony Janiek, who's got to go back to running his karting business. There is Jonathan Andre, and he has been very impressive indeed within the races that he's been able to do thus far. He has been a regular on the podium, and it's perhaps not beyond the realms of possibility that he might be able to take another second place before the end of the digital season. He had one at the Nürburgring. I'm saying second because Norbert Kish has always looked so strong. You kind of assume that he is going to be the man on pole position once again. But with only 3 minutes on the clock, there he is in the pit lane. And he's not yet done a proper lap time. So is this Norbert Kish with a problem? Is this him making life tough for himself? Or has he got a server problem and can't connect? Either way, right now, Norbert Kish is looking as though he ain't going to be able to get more than really one flying lap in, because we've got 3 minutes on the clock. There's Antonio Alberthetti, who won in the real world here in a reverse grid race last year. Antonio missed the last brace of races at Most, but it's good to have him back. You're riding on board with him now as he turns his way through turn 2, the Sterrenwacht-Bocht. Now the Canal-Bocht, so called because the canal runs along the outside of the circuit here. You're up to the Lucien Bianchi-Bocht here, or turn 4 if you would prefer, and then the short straight up to the small chicane, the Kleine Chicane behind the paddock. Speed builds at this point. You see what I mean about it being narrow. and there's barely any runoff here. You mow the lawn if you put a wheel out of line. Stand on the brakes, go into the chicane, you flick left and right, use the curb as best you can, but without getting too sideways here that you then put yourself in jeopardy going through Butter, the kink at turn 6, and then the Talamenbocht has the chicane that brings you into the long looping right-hander itself. Alberthetti hits the brakes, hits the curb too, scrabbles right, left, right again. Back on the power. He's going to try and find now a fifth of a second. 2 minutes of the session to go. Still no sign of a Norbert Kish lap time cropping up onto the timing and scoring pages. So this has the makings, if he can't get a time in at all, of being a really interesting grid for race 1. As now coming out of the Boulderberg-Haagspeld-Bocht, or turn 8, into the Jochen-Rindt-Bocht, which is this little flick chicane, and then to the Jackie Gix-Bocht at the end of the lap will come Antonio Alberthetti. We've got Bjorn Teichhaus, who's gone really well in these digital races, up to 3rd. Jonathan Andre down to 4th. Jamie Anderson is 5th. Alberthetti almost runs out of road here, but Antonio is back on the loud pedal. Comes up towards the timing line. And let's see, with one more lap available to him, where that is going to put him. Alia Colloch is 9th. Now, she was being given a warning earlier on about not respecting the blue flag. So 9 of them we have got on track. We were expecting, obviously, at least 10, but Norbert Kish not shown with a time. Plot thickens then. So there through is Alberthetti. We're into the last minute of the session now. At the end of this, we'll have a provisional grid. There's Shane Brereton going through. Shane is currently 8th as Theo Calve goes up to 4th fastest now. That's Sasha Lentz, who's on target for pole position here. And you take Norbert Kish out of the equation, and either this is going to be a wide open race, or it is going to be fascinating seeing him try to carve his way through from near the rear of the grid. Norbert Kish, who was a very experienced sim racer before he came into real-world car racing and then into truck racing, and of course double European champion. There's Jonathan Andre going through the chicane at the Talamenbocht. That's Bjorn Teichhaus with the venerable Volvo. Oh, sorry, I said Volvo. I meant Scania, didn't I? Brain fade. The Scania, which is one of the older rigs in the real world championship, still going strongly in this digital world. Adam Lachko 7th then, ahead of teammate Alia Colloch, but not as quick as teammate Theo Calve, as there is Bjorn Teichhaus running out of road, goes way, way off the racetrack. Almost takes Alberthetti with him, but rally crossing or truck crossing his way back towards the road now is Bjorn Teichhaus. Right, the flag is out, so there isn't a Norbert Kish time. The checkered flag is out to end Superpole, and Sasha Lentz it is then as the trucks come down the pit road, who takes pole position from Alberthetti. Bjorn Teichhaus 3rd ahead of Theo Calve. Then you've got Jamie Anderson 5th, Adam Lachko 6th. 7th is Shane Brereton. 8th is Alia Colloch in the end. And I had a feeling that there was one other that was being shown. Yes, Shane Brereton is there. Who have we lost? There's one name that's gone missing from that. We'll trace in due course. But for the moment, the big question mark is around what's happened to Norbert Kish. Jonathan Andre, I think, was the one that we had lost, and he is 5th come the end of the session. So, an intriguing Superpole session. First pole of the year for Sasha Lentz. Is that, I think I'm right in saying, the first time we've not had Norbert Kish top the times in Superpole, and no time at all recorded for him. So, very strange indeed. We'll try and get to the bottom of that for the start of the opening race. Remember, the races are 25 minutes plus a lap, but they include the formation lap. So effectively, that lap eats into the 25 minutes. You get the regulation lap put on at the very end in order to redress the balance, as it were. Now, the drivers will go away and have a quick drink. They will also get themselves connected to the race server. The race administration team in race control will make sure that all is good, that there are no protests that need looking at, and then confirm the grid in anticipation for the first race. What we ought to do, though, is have a quick look at who is going to be on the grid. We'll have a look into the FIA ETRC digital showroom, have a look at the trucks, and talk about some of the drivers that we're going to have on track this evening. Well, let's start with Antonio Alberthetti then. He's going to be on the front row of the grid provisionally. He comes here 4th in the championship. And Antonio Alberthetti, who began, like so many car racers of his generation, in Formula Ford 1600. He moved on to Formula 3, had a spell in Formula 3000. Then he went to Super Touring. He drove for Opel, for BMW, for Alfa Romeo, and moved in 03 to truck racing. So very nearly 2 decades he spent within truck racing. European champion 3 times in 2005, 2006 and 2010. And he remains one of the leading lights and, of course, a huge draw at the Jarama event every year. The T-Sport Bernau, a combination of T-Sport, the British team, and Lutz Bernau's squad running the MAN this year. Antonio Alberthetti, 2nd on the grid and 4th in the championship. Now, Bjorn Teichhaus is the man behind the wheel of this Scania. It's Erwin Klein-Nagelvort's truck, and it's going to be one, I think, to watch over the course of these Zolder races. Bjorn Teichhaus putting it 3rd on the grid. We've seen him do more national level events, such as the Mittelrhein Cup at the ADAC Truck Grand Prix, and also stop-go competitions, but Bjorn Teichhaus has actually been pretty impressive in the limited races that he has done this season, because he's got himself three indeed, 5th places as his best results. As a late arrival, he only scores half points, but Bjorn Teichhaus comes here 10th in the championship. Shane Brereton was another driver that missed the first couple of races, but in the immaculate Apollo Tyres MAN, the former oval racer, stock car racer, hot rod racer, and then pickup truck racer, is always one to watch. He has been a real world truck race winner, mainly in reverse grid races, but Shane Brereton with lots of ability. He's still perhaps feeling his way into the digital way of racing, but don't rule him out. Shane Brereton comes here 13th in the championship. The only driver this year to have beaten Norbert Kisch is this man, Theo Calve, the young French driver. His father, Fabien, an organiser, broadcaster, racer and champion. And Theo himself this year switching to the Freightliner of the Bagheera Racing squad. He came into truck racing as a 16-year-old back in 2017 at Nogaro, but he was a motocrosser initially. It's often been the case that people from motorbikes have great balance, and that's really useful when it comes to truck racing. He was 3rd in the 2018 French Championship, and this is not only another opportunity to see if he can win a race outright. He's done it once this year, but also for Theo Calve to perhaps make very good progress in the real world of truck racing, being associated now to one of the top teams. Theo Calve, 3rd in the championship, coming here to Zolder. Jamie Anderson has had a really tough season. He's had good pace, but he's been really unlucky, either with incidents and or penalties. The best result we've had out of Jamie, well, 2 5th places, but he was leading at Most in the reverse grid race until he got a penalty for a jump start and he bailed from the race. But if it all hangs together for him, then Jamie Anderson should be up near the pointy end of the grid. Only 6th, though, in qualifying, so there's more to come from him. He comes here 6th in the championship as well. What about Alia Colloch then? Alia is 11th in the points. Her father, Martin Colloch, a ETRC champion and a former kart racer. Alia coming into truck racing full-time this year, has her sights not only on racing, but also doing rally raids, the Dakar event, for example, in trucks, which is another element to the Bagheera Racing squad's bow. But Alia Colloch has been getting faster and faster each time out, still gaining experience, of course, but with a couple of 8th places as her best. Alia is 11th in the standings. So, the poleman, Sascha Lentz. Is this going to be an opportunity for Sascha to finally score a race win? Let's see. Sascha Lentz is to be found 2nd in the championship, 63 points back, though, from Norbert Kisch. So he's really got to have a good evening here to keep championship hopes alive, and also, in fact, to try to fend off that challenge of Theo Calve. Sascha, who came out of the Mittelrhein Cup and occasional BTRA races, then moved full-time into the European Championship. He's the great underdog, very, very popular driver, 5th in the championship last year, the SL Truck Sport entry of Sascha Lentz, 2nd in the FIA ETRC Digital. So, the championship leader, Norbert Kish, missing from that Super Pole. Started on a sim, went to the Opel Astra Cup in Hungary, drove to win the Clio Cup Championship in Hungary. Double Seat champion, Suzuki champion, then double ETRC champion back in 14 and 15. Norbert Kish missing from that grid so far, having not been there in the qualifying session. But if he does start from the back, let's see what he can do. Remember, we have thus far had 10 races, and he's won 9 to the 1 of Theo Calve. So very much the man to beat is Norbert Kish, the FIA ETRC championship leader. Adam Nachko is another European champion. He won that back in 2017, managing to put one over on Norbert Kish and indeed Jochen Hahn. Another former karter turned car racer, Adam Nachko, came successfully from the Skoda Octavia Cup. He raced in Carrera Cup in Germany. He raced in FIA GT, had a spell in truck racing before that championship success. Only 3rd last year. And with all due respect to Adam Nachko, you get used to seeing him at the front in truck racing. He's not had the easiest of times, though, adapting to sim racing. And lots of the drivers tell you that it's not as easy as it looks. Success and experience in the real world doesn't always translate to this, because what you don't have is that feeling through your backside that you would of a vehicle, be it a car or a truck, moving around underneath you. Adam Nachko, however, is always on the attack, always worth watching. Best race results, well, we've not had him on the podium yet. He has had 3 6th places, and Adam Nachko is currently 9th in the championship. Jonathan Andre, then, the Team Lion truck racing team manager. He takes over this entry of Anthony Janiek. Of course, with only half points available to him, he finds himself 7th in the championship. But Jonathan Andre will certainly be a man to keep an eye to, I think, because he's had good pace. Jonathan Andre then with a 2nd at the Nürburgring and a 3rd in each of the races at the Slovakia ring. Very much a driver to keep an eye to. So let's see what he can do over the course of this evening's races in the yellow MAN. And remember, Jonathan Andre is going to be starting provisionally on the 3rd row of the grid. So that is a look at who we're expecting to see. Still trying to get some more news as to the dramas for Norbert Kish, but I'm sure, seeing that he was there in the pit lane, it'll all be resolved and he'll get himself onto the circuit, ready for our first race. Now, Zolder, as I say, is a good old school circuit. It's not only one with a tremendous heritage, but it's also one that has been very popular with fans of all ages for many, many years. It's got some fast bits. It's got some really testing bits. In truck racing terms, it has always delivered plenty of action. Richard Walker, multiple class champion in the early days of the European Championship, will testify to that. He had a famous accident on the end of a rolling start where the race was stopped, but he was in the pack and couldn't see and ploughed into the traffic ahead and did huge amounts of damage to his Kenworth. Well, we're not hoping for anything like that this evening, but the fans, whether they're in a digital world or the real world, come to Zolder in the full knowledge that they're in for an action-packed weekend. Let's take a look at the Zolder Circuit before we go racing.
Welcome to Circuit Zolder.
The FIA European Truck Racing Championship this weekend is in Belgium at Zolder. Between 1973 and 1984, this circuit hosted the Belgian Formula One Grand Prix. The last third of the ETRC season will kick off at this traditional racetrack 80 kilometres east of Brussels, the capital of Belgium. So that gives you a chance to have a look at the Zolder Circuit, and you could see from those high shots looking down onto the track, the locality. It's a flat circuit in the main, granted. You see the huge canal running to one side. It's near Hasselt, the nearest major town. And of course, Belgium, famous for its stunning choice and selection of beers, makes it a very popular haunt for everybody come race weekend. Well, the race server is ready to join, which is the equivalent really of the pit lane being opened. We'll go to the grid very shortly. A reminder that before we have the race, we have the formation lap behind the Mercedes, the official pace truck. And before that, we have the lap from the Ford F-Max, the official truck of the FIA ETRC. But let's head, as I say, to the circuit, and we'll see the trucks lining up very shortly as the drivers join the server. We've still got this big question mark over Norbert Kish. We're trying to get to the bottom of exactly what it was that prevented him from taking part in Superpole. But now, without a time, he's going to have to be able to join in only from the back of the grid. And it's going to be really interesting to see what progress he can make and how long it will take him. It's not going to be a fully reversed grid race, of course, this, only for Norbert Kish, seemingly. It means that as he's working his way through, potentially, assuming he does start the race, then some of the quick drivers that have qualified near the front will be able to perhaps build a gap. So we're looking at this fight now, really, between Lentz, Alberthetti, and potentially Calve up near the front of the pack. After the races this weekend, we still have the Le Mans Bugatti Circuit and Jarama still to go. So the championship not done and dusted by any means. 4 more races to look forward to. And then hopefully, as the world is unlocking more and more, we'll be able to go into real world racing. But of course, one of the major selling points of truck racing is the fan-friendly nature of it and big, big crowds. And it's to be hoped that that is still possible, as precautions can understandably need to be taken at venues. But there's more and more motor racing going on around the real world. Once again, the UK, for example, very busy these last couple of weekends, and major UK championships starting to kick off in a couple of weeks' time. International sports car racing is already up and running, and hopefully, therefore, it won't be long before we have real world truck racing back as well. So Sascha Lentz starts from provisional pole position. We'll go to the grid, as I say, very shortly indeed, just confirm who starts where, and then look forward to what promises to be a really lively first 25-minute race. Sascha Lentz, the SL Truck Sport driver, somebody with vast amounts of experience, and having to use that now to full effect in order to try to capitalise on pole position. As ever, the run through the first corner, a real pinch point. You saw in that look at the circuit, the real world pictures of just how narrow and how crowded the start line can be as everybody rumbles their way down to the first corner. And trying to work your way through the traffic is not the easiest of tasks. So we're almost set to go racing. So let's make our way then on to this Zolder Circuit, the 4-kilometre long venue. Looking there down onto the pit straight. This is what the drivers will see with the pit lane on the right-hand side. And this first of the 2 races there, the track map, 4 kilometres long, as I say, 10 corners. The race duration, 2 lots of 25 minutes plus a lap. And it's qualifying Superpole for race 1's grid. You reverse the top 8 results to give you the grid for the second. Rolf Werner is your race director, and the best qualifying time, that of Sascha Lentz, to put him onto pole position. Track temperature 30 degrees, barely any wind, clear skies, just 1 or 2 light fluffy clouds, and everybody then good to go. A large team of course, puts on these races, even in the digital world. And we've had plenty of drivers taking part, a hardcore, 1 or 2 for various reasons dipping in and out. Norbert Kish then is the championship leader, ahead of Sascha Lentz. Theo Calve is 3rd, trying to claw back that narrow margin. Those 3 away and gone. You see Antonio Alberthetti has missed an event. Jamie Anderson has had some bad luck. Jose Eduardo Rodriguez has been excluded from a couple of races. Adam Nachko struggled to gain points. Jonathan Andre taking over Anthony Janiek's truck. Lucas Hahn has elected not to carry on in the championship. Bjorn Teihaus has had a part season. Alia Colloch has been unlucky. Clement Tecker not racing tonight because of his kidney stone, so get well soon. Shane Brereton missed the opening couple of races, and Irving Klein-Nagelvort's had to back out of the championship because, of course, as the world opens up, he's had to go back to running his transport business. So So really, it is all about Kish, Lentz and Calve at the top of the championship table. This is how we looked then in qualifying. Sascha Lentz takes the top time with lining up with him at the front of the grid, Antonio Alberthetti. Then it is Bjorn Teichhaus for third ahead of Theo Calve, Jonathan Andre fifth on the grid, and lining up for sixth should be Jamie Anderson. And these are the people involved, broadcasting in English, in German, in French, in Czech and in Spanish as the digital truck racing world expands all the time. Rolf Werner, along with Janine Meyer, Michael Kalishan, Frank Thaler and Stephanie Ada are all in race control. Gero Mulkau, who is in charge of the timekeeping, and the championship's promoter Georg Fuchs sit in the organisation area. And Lukas Unger is the man with the arduous but very well produced task of making all of this into a broadcast package for us to enjoy. Right, it's time to hit the track with the Ford F-Max.
The show is on. Start your engines. FIA ETRC is ready to race.
So, as the Ford F-Max comes down the pit lane, we understand that Norbert Kish is now with us. He's ready to go. Quite where he's been, we'll perhaps find out post-race, but the grid is ready. And there you see on pole position then, Sascha Lentz. He is on the inside going into turn one. Antonio Alberthetti lines up alongside. Then you've got Bjorn Teichhaus and Theo Calve. Jonathan Andre lining up fifth alongside Jamie Anderson. Adam Nachko and Shane Brereton share the fourth row. Alia Colloch and Norbert Kish will share the back row of the grid then. Well, this is going to be fascinating to see how the progress can be made from Norbert Kish, and also what happens as far as the front runners on this grid are concerned. Bjorn Teichhaus could well be the spoiler in the pack, couldn't he, there, as we get set for the formation lap. The clock will start now as the trucks rumble away. There goes Jamie Anderson, the British driver, with, of course, alongside the Jonathan Andre MAN. So down through turn two, everybody now turns, and there the Mercedes pace truck leads them around. That, for the purposes of this formation lap, will be shown within the timing and scoring tower you see on the screen. So that will disappear, of course, once it comes into the pit lane and comes off the server. And then we are with our 10 race trucks. Is Norbert Kish there at the back? I think he is. So the progress that he will make is going to be the real talking point of this. There they go with Antonio Alberthetti, number 2, back with the championship. And you saw Norbert Kish there at the rear of the grid. Well, if anybody's going to be able to get from last to first, it is Norbert Kish. So we'll see now how this all shakes out for him. So the field coming out of the chicane, you look back from the pace truck. Sasha Lentz with pole position. Antonio Alberthetti with his many, many years of experience. Indeed, as I say, he was a winner here last season in the reverse grid race. In other words, starting for that up near the front. And as he comes then now down through the Terlamenbocht, it's going to be another very narrow section of the circuit that Sasha Lentz gets onto the power. And of course, you coming out of any chicane, get onto the loud pedal too soon, the back will wag, and that's going to compromise the next part of the lap. Norbert Kish could do worse, of course, than just sit back and get himself to the front row for the reverse grid race. Keep out of trouble here and put himself at the front, and then he can run away and hide in race 2. So it'll be interesting to see how he tackles this race as the rigs now come down towards turn 8. Brake too late or carry too much speed in there and you're in real strife. That little wiggle is the Jochen Rindt Bocht. And so now they power their way up towards the completion of the lap, and then we will be good to go. So out of the chicane, now comes the race truck grid. The pace truck goes for the pit lane. Remember, it's 25 minutes, including this formation lap, plus a lap. Sasha Lentz slightly in advance, you could argue, as they come now up towards the timing line. We are ready to go racing. Green, green, green is the signal from race control. The lights do go to green, and it's the green and black truck, the MAN, that leads in the hands of Sasha Lentz. Good start by Tiehouse. Look, diving up the inside of Alberthetti. Theo Calve is there as well. Lentz goes out wide. Everybody survives the first corner then as they go down towards the Sterrenwachtbocht now. Sasha Lentz it is then who leads the pack. But Bjorn Tiehouse's second bit of contact, I think, in the background there that very nearly did for Jonathan Andre, who bounced his way wide through the corner. But it is Sasha Lentz then leading the pack as here they come for the first time now into the Lucien Bianchi Bocht. There's Andre, who has dropped to the rear of the field here. So through they power, and there, look, you've got Sasha Lentz ahead of Bjorn Tiehouse, first and second. Third at the moment is Calve. Jamie Anderson is fourth. Norbert Kish is on the attack. Look, he's got himself already up into 7th spot. You're riding on board now with Norbert Kish then. He's on the attack against Adam Nachko. Down they come towards the Terlamenbocht. Very hard to find a way through, and Sasha Lentz leading the pack, but now Bjorn Tiehouse is looking like he's the cork in the bottle, rather. They make the run now up towards the fast run towards turn 8. The turn 1 on that one is under investigation as Norbert Kish dives up the inside there of Adam Nachko and goes through. Antonio Alberthetti sideways ahead. He's been losing time as well there. Alia Colloch gets up and past Shane Brereton. And the race leaders now make their way up towards the completion of the opening lap of the race then. Norbert Kish is not hanging around, is he? And he's not just prepared to sit there and get 8th and luck into the front row on the reverse grid race. Gets ahead of Nachko, and he's on the back of Alberthetti now as they come once up towards the timing line. That is Jamie Anderson getting it all wrong coming out of the chicane. Jamie was sideways, and I'm afraid yet again he's had a big, big drama. The truck thunders off the concrete. Now, if that were real world racing, that would very definitely be not only the end of him, but the end of the pit wall. Thankfully, he might be able to regroup. Bit of damage sustained in a digital race, but could have been a whole lot worse in the real world as Alberthetti fends off Kish. And what this also means is that gaps are opening up further up the road here. So right now it is Lentz leading and trying to get away. and he is getting away. You can see Tie House is the cork in the bottle. So here through the little chicane come the race leaders, and Norbert Kish is closing all the time. There's Alberthetti going through. But Lentz gaining the gap over Tie House. Calve needs, and he knows this, to sort him out quickly, otherwise Lentz will be away and gone. And also, if Calve's not careful, Norbert Kish might be up with him because he's having another go. Look at Alberthetti. Tries to find a way through here on the inside line, and he's lined himself up beautifully to make the run here, coming down towards turn 8. There's the top 3, but about to go fourth, I think, is Norbert Kish. He's on the inside line. Lachko tries to follow him through as well. Kish gets up the inside. Lachko says, wait for me. He gets squeezed a little bit up towards the curb, but he's done it. So Norbert Kish goes by, and through as well there, look, goes then Adam Lachko, gains the place. So 2 laps we've done, and this is Calve's chance now. Look, he's getting a good exit from the chicane. He's up alongside Bjorn Tie House. They lean on each other, I think, as they come over the timing line. And Calve, even though he's got the pace, has got the wrong line. He's on the outside line down towards turn 1. Through Erstedt they go. Now he gets the switchback. Out wide is Tie House. Up on the inside line goes Calve, and he's got the job done. And that is absolutely vital before Norbert Kish arrives on the scene. So through they turn, getting a replay of the Calve Tie House fun and games. Tie House keeps the place on the inside, but great driving by Calve, gets the switchback and goes through on the inside. Now there is second, third, and all of a sudden fourth. Tie House is under attack from Norbert Kish here. Down towards the Telamenbocht they come once again. So this gap, 4.6 seconds currently, that Sascha Lentz has to Theo Calve. And now Calve needs Tie House to defend from Kish for as long as possible, but you can see how the Scania there is weaving all over the road as Tie House is throwing everything at this. Calve trying to close on Lentz, knowing that ain't going to be long before Kish is up with him as Norbert dives up the inside at turn 8. Through he goes, brakes late. He's going to run a little bit wide, but Tie House is the one that gets forced out even wider because he was on the outside line. And now goes rally crossing, puts himself on the green bit. There he is, back on track. Adam Lachko is the man next in the queue in 5th place. Alberthetti a bit frustrated in 6th, although trying to fight back here. Alberthetti back ahead of Lachko then, 5th and 6th across the line. Alberthetti goes by. Now what about Theo Calve? The gap is not coming down, is it? 4.8 seconds against Lentz, so he's still having to really work hard at this as they dive now down through turn 1, through Erstedt. They're riding on board with Lachko, that gets run out wide up onto the curbings. Through they turn with Adam Lachko doing his best to hustle on, but actually Alia Colloch not that far behind. Now Jonathan Andre, having been roughed up early on, has really struggled to make progress here. So let's just see what he can do as the trucks accelerate their way down into the chicane once again. Still not really able there, seemingly, to pounce against Alia Colloch, but he's having a go. Lachko goes through the chicane. Andre on the back of Colloch. Then you've got Shane Brereton behind. And these 3 rigs as one, pretty much. They battle through now. So you're looking from Shane Brereton's truck at the rear of Jonathan Andre's rig. Shane Brereton closing up a little bit because Jonathan's got stuck, has he not, behind Alia Colloch here. Together they turn. Now they're going over the line. Theo Calve with Norbert Kish right up behind him. Accelerating their way through. And nose to tail, all of this playing right into the hands, of course, of the hard-charging Sasha Lentz, who is building that gap further and further and further up the road. So 5 laps done. There on the limit is Calve. So Norbert Kish has come from 10th, and he's almost up there. Heading down towards the chicane. Is this going to be a chance for Kish to make a move? He's on the back of Calve. Can't find a way through there, but we know where he likes to attack. He's down at turn 8. That's where he's been good at overtaking people hitherto in this race, and that means that the plan starts round about now. Here they come. So down through the approach of the Talamenbocht they come. Nose to tail, the pair of them. And now Norbert Kish once more tries the effort. He's not going to be able to do it though this time, is he? Theo Calve is able to fend him off. So the race leaders through together, or sorry, second and third through together. Race leader clear and gone now. And all of this battle for second place means that Sasha Lentz's advantage is just getting larger and larger. So Lentz it is leading the way. This is Norbert Kish's view as they come over the line. Theo Calve just being able to fend him off. It's a narrow margin, as you see, down towards turn 1. We've still got just under 12 minutes, so half the race remaining, plus that regulation lap put on at the end. So Calve still not able really to go after Sasha Lentz, and even if Kish could get past 6 seconds, I think is going to be a really tough ask to bring down the gap. I told you earlier that lap 1, turn 1 was under investigation. No further action. This is Kish's view round the back of the paddock out of the Lucien Bianchi box. Theo Calve having to go defensive and therefore dropping away from Sasha Lentz, who he can see up the road. He just can't get anywhere near him. Now, were Norbert Kish to get through, could he do anything about the race leader? Not convinced about that either, as Calve rattles over the curb. First season we've seen him driving for the Bagheera Racing Squad in the bonneted Freightliner rather than the cab-over truck behind. The MAN in the hands of Norbert Kish. Into the Talamenbocht they come. Sasha Lentz thinking, go on Theo, you get in the way, you hold him up, you give me a chance of a race win here, please. Through together they turn yet again. Now this is where Kish normally starts to make the move. But Calve, if he's savvy, will move across and defend, and yet Norbert Kish not able to dive up the inside on this lap. They turn their way out of the turn 8 right-hander, then through the Jochen Rindt bocht, and along the short straight towards the Jackie X bocht, Jackie X corner at the end of the lap. Have a look behind for 4th and 5th, Bjorn Teichhaus versus Antonio Alberthetti. They are together as well. So Kish on the back of Calve. And now they run with 10 minutes on the clock up towards the timing line. There's a warning for truck 17, Shane Brereton for pushing, and also Jonathan Andre for pushing on the opening lap. So driving standards, even in a virtual world, are being maintained as best they can by the officials. And they're turning through are the second and third placed trucks, two very differing styles of truck, the almost American-inspired Freightliner. And Norbert Kish makes a look to the inside there. You saw him get all toey coming out of turn 3 round the Canal Bocht. But for the moment, at least, it is them, Calve, who is able to defend. So Sasha Lentz into the chicane. There for second and third place is 6 seconds adrift. Calve fending off Kish. Norby goes left, goes right, rattles over those low curbs, and then makes the climb over the brow. Through Butter, down towards the Telamenbocht at turn 7. You've got that little chicane, and then the corner itself. There you get the warnings to Brereton and Andre for pushing. And there is the second and third place fight. And again, now is Norbert Kish's golden opportunity. He's got a tighter line look coming off 7. Calve tries to move across. Is he going to get across the road in time? Yes, he is. So Norbert Kish can't dive up the inside, or can he? He thinks about it, but in a big truck like this, with all the weight, you have to plan your move a little bit in advance. You can't suddenly dart around like you can in a racing car. Lentz leads the way. This is second and third. It is Calve from Kish, and the clock's ticking on down. Down to the braking zone for the Jackie X-Bocht they come. There is Norbert Kish, really being given a work over here by Theo Calve. They're heading up towards the timing line once again. Jonathan Andre's being warned about track limits, by the way, as the second and third duo comes over the line. Lentz is away and gone. Calve runs second then. 6 seconds back. There's Norbert Kish in third place. Through they all turn. And now Kish dives for the inside line, going into turn 2. Has he made it stick? There's contact. Nobody, I think, will back out of that rather than risk a penalty and attack again on the inside. Calve tries to crowd him. Through they come, out of turn 3. Calve's off wide. Kish is through. He's into second place. So Theo Calve hits the brakes. The truck wobbles and weaves under braking. And so now Norbert Kish is through to second place. But will the officials have a look at that, I wonder? Down they turn into the chicane. So Kish released, but he's got to make up 7 seconds now. And Kish is being told he's got to give back the place. He does give back the place. So Norbert Kish gives the position back to Theo Calve. There's the beauty of team speak. You see the race director talks to the drivers, and instantly the message gets through. So Norbert Kish, he might have been expecting it anyway, gives the place back to Theo Calve. He's going to try all over again. And that means that Lentz's advantage is even greater now, 7.5 seconds. So Lentz leads the way. Calve having to go so defensive. Kish tries the inside, gets a face full of Calve, who makes a real mess of turn 8, and off he goes. Theo Calve off the road. Now, was that him braking late, or did he get a whack in the back from Norbert Kish? Either way, this time, Norby is through. He's up in a second spot here. So here they come down now into the Jackie X-Bocht. We've got 6 minutes plus a lap to go. Surely Norbert Kish can't make up 8 seconds here. Let's see. There is Sasha Lentz on the loud pedal as he comes now then through turns 1 and 2. Bjorn Tiehouse goes over the line. Now he's dropped back, look, behind Antonio Alberthetti, who's had a bit of a snakes and ladders race up and down the order. Tiehouse is there in 5th spot going through. So Lentz, Kish, Calve is the order we could be on for our 3rd different race winner of the season here. The way that Sasha Lentz is going, it's looking encouraging, isn't it? The gap surely is too great now. So there you've got Alberthetti ahead of Tiehouse. This is for 4th and 5th. Adam Nachko is next in the queue, but it's a rather distant 6th that he has. 7th is Jonathan Andre, who really oddly has not been able to make amends for the lost ground earlier on in this contest. 8th is Shane Brereton, and that's going to give him pole, of course. Now behind, 9th is Alia Colloch, and 10th is Jamie Anderson. Jamie, he's pushing, and we know he's quick. There's Andre having a go against Lachko for 6th place at the chicane. Just wonder whether we could get Jamie Anderson up to 8th by the end and pole position for the second race, because right now he's going to be condemned to starting at the back where Norbert Kish did for this race. But Jamie Anderson, if he can gain a couple of spots, because he's only 1.7 seconds back from Brereton, might be able to take pole position by the 8th place in race 1, pole the place on the reverse grid for race 2. Now that's Lachko and that's Andre behind him. 6th and 7th, in other words, is the battle. There's another warning being offered up, and it's for Bjorn Tiehaus for pushing, so presumably against Alberthetti there. Race leaders ticking off the corners, ticking off the laps now. They're going through, it's Andre. So the French driver still chases on in pursuit of Adam Nachko. He's got 1 second to make up. Actually, Andre on Nachko for 6th place. It could be on before the very end here. Can the line roar past? Let's see as they come through the X-Bocht up towards the line. You see all of them just get a little bit sideways there, coming out of that right-handed element to the chicane as the power comes in. Green lights are still on, and they're diving down towards turn 1 goes the 6th place fight. Now here you've got Shane Brereton looking good for pole for race 2 ahead of Alia Colloch and Jamie Anderson. You see Jamie there in the MAN, the white MAN in the background, right on the back of Alia Colloch. He's got to get past and then do something about Brereton for pole. Here he comes up the inside line at turn 2. Alia Colloch tries to defend, closes the door as best she can, but runs out wide, and Jamie is through. And now, all of a sudden, 8th place becomes really interesting, doesn't it? Brereton or Anderson? Which Brit for pole for the 2nd race of the day? Jamie Anderson has certainly got the speed, recovering after that crash against the concrete. Makes the run now on the back of Shane Brereton. Goes from one side of the road to the other. Is he going to be able to get by here? Let's see. Through they turn, and Shane Brereton bounces over the curb. Is that going to just compromise the run a little bit as they come now onto the back part of the circuit? He's just able to swing across in front of Jamie Anderson. Remember, which of these two MANs takes the place will get pole in the 2nd race. Brereton just ahead, but he goes wide, goes all over the curb. Jamie Anderson a bit more controlled, wants the switch back now on the inside line coming out of the Bocht. Is he going to be able to do it? They're still nose to tail, but there's still not yet the opportunity there for him. Down towards as they come. There's Colloch next in that queue. Race leaders then with only 2 more minutes to go, but as far as this contest is concerned, wait to see Brereton turn through ahead of Anderson. We've got both Shane and Jamie being warned about track limits now. Former oval racer Brereton, former rally man Anderson, down they come into the chicane at the Jackie X-Bocht. Go left, go right, and then up towards the timing line once more. And there, Shane Brereton with a bit too much oversteer, loses the place. Up and past him goes Jamie Anderson. A 2nd warning, though, for Jamie, and there's contact there against him. So he gave Brereton a push earlier. Shane gets into the back of Jamie Anderson. Anderson was 8th. He's now back down to 10th. That is going to go down like a broken lift at race control, isn't it? They will not like that at all. So Shane Brereton gets up past Jamie Anderson. Call that 1-all. Alia Colloch is the one that might benefit. There is Jamie Anderson, though, being given a real whack in the back by Brereton. And out wide he goes through the gravel. So let's see what comes from that. Jamie had just had a 2nd warning for contact. And Shane Brereton is being given a 30-second penalty. So that's going to cost him his 8th place. And right now, that is going to be race 2 pole for Alia Colloch. So through they turn. Jamie Anderson has an opportunity, of course, here to try to go by, if possible. Let's see. There they turn out of the Bocht. Colloch versus Anderson. So now, with Shane Brereton being given this 30-second penalty for pushing, that is going to drop him into, effectively, last place. And it's going to mean that what's on track for 9th, Colloch versus Anderson, is really the battle for pole position. Now, the clock has hit 0, so the race leaders will be on their last lap next time they cross the timing line. Through goes Nachko, through goes Jonathan Andre behind. But Sasha Lentz, and the gap has been coming down, Sasha Lentz still leads the way here. Now, it's not, admittedly, come down enough to give Norbert Kish a chance to challenge, but it has come down, and that is significant. These two still squabbling, and Jonathan Andre not giving up in his quest to be sixth. Of course, he might gain another place, but he'd put himself a row further back. So which would you rather do? Take sixth in race one, or be at the front of the grid and maybe convert that into a good result in race two? Andre then on the attack once again as they make the run to the small chicane. Thinks about the inside line, but right there ahead of him remains Nachko. Jamie Anderson is now ahead of Alia Colloch, but being told to give the position back to her. So you've got Shane Brereton ahead of them both, but with a penalty. Alia Colloch now back ahead of Jamie Anderson. So that is restored. And remember, this is the fight for 8th position pole for race 2. Interesting, isn't it, to see the way that Shane Brereton has escaped after that contact, and while these two are squabbling, he's never going to be 30 seconds escaped, but pull away he certainly has. Race leaders then are on the last lap, and it looks as though Sascha Lentz is on target. There he is for the race win. He's turning his way through. Norbert Kish in second place, and then Theo Calve having fallen back in third. Surprising in a way that he's fallen away from Norbert Kish rather than being able to stay with him. 5.5 seconds behind Calve now is Alberthetti, but Calve really has fallen a long way back. There he is. Let's see what he can do in the final race. Of course, he did have that off down at turn 8. Now, whether that has caused any long-lasting reason for the lack of pace, we'll try to find out after race 1. But right now, the podium does beckon for him, for Theo Calve. Fourth looks like it'll go the way of Antonio Alberthetti, and then for 5th place Bjorn Teichhaus next in the queue of trucks. But Sascha Lentz finally looks like he is going to do it. Through he comes, makes the run now up towards the completion of the lap, and he is going to be our 3rd different winner out of 11 races. So Sascha Lentz with Norbert Kish getting closer and closer all the time. The gap coming down and down and down. 3.4 seconds as they went through the last timing point. Now 3.3, now 3.2. Norbert's not going to get there. And is this Lentz backing off, or is it Norbert Kish upping his pace? It doesn't really matter anymore, does it? With only a corner to go in real terms. Sascha Lentz is about to come by. Into the braking zone he comes. And finally, he's worked so hard for it. Sascha Lentz is on target to win for the first time in the FIA ETRC Digital. Sascha Lentz wins at Zolder. Back home, he's got a German film crew with him, filming all of this for a documentary about him. And so Sascha Lentz chooses the right night to win, doesn't he? Norbert Kish takes 2nd, and 3rd should be, there he is, Theo Calve, making his way now up across the line. 4th will be Antonio Alberthetti. And what happens behind him? Well, 5th, there he is Bjorn Teichhaus. 6th is going to be Adam Nachko, just keeping at bay Jonathan Andre. But then for 8th and pole, it gets messy, doesn't it? So let's see. Shane Brereton is going to be 10th because of the penalty. We can pretty much work that bit out. So is it going to be Anderson or Colloch that will come through for 9th to be elevated to 8th? Let us see. We await confirmation, and there's Shane Brereton. Jamie Anderson is indeed next, so that means that he will start from pole, and Alia Colloch misses out on the reverse grid. Shane Brereton misses out altogether, of course, with the penalty being applied. So, 3rd different winner, Sascha Lentz, finally has done it after so many races of trying, constantly being a front runner. He has finally put himself onto the top step of the podium here. A win at Zolder, ahead of Norbert Kish and Theo Calve. And of course, all of this coming in the case of Norbert Kish from the very back of the grid. But Sascha Lentz will be very happy about that, no doubt. Built the gap early on, benefited, of course, from the squabbling that was going on behind with Theo Calve and Norbert Kish fighting over 2nd place, and was then able to build that gap, which he in turn was able to consolidate all the way to the end. So a great job done by Sascha Lentz. We'll try to have a word with one or two of the drivers before we have the break before the second race. But Sascha Lentz, I think, can be brought into the English streaming channel. Sascha Lentz, well done. Finally, a race victory. Must be a great feeling for you. Well done. It was a great drive. Was it a difficult race from the front, or were you able to control the race with the fighting going on behind you? Sascha, brilliant. Well done. It's a very popular win. Congratulations. So he's done it at last. Sascha Lentz is a winner in FIA ETRC Digital, and making the point that he could see Norbert Kish coming, getting quicker and quicker. So it wasn't Sascha Lentz backing off, therefore, by the sound of it. It was definitely Norbert Kish with very good pace closing on the race leader. Theo Calve then taking that third place. Now, of course, what happens next is that there is a break between the races. The drivers have an opportunity, if they feel they've been hard done by, to protest a driver. The officials have time to have a look at the footage and then to confirm the grid for race 2. And we'll be looking forward to that a little bit later on. I'm just looking to see in our waiting room whether we have any other drivers that are going to be able to talk to us. For the moment, the answer is no. Let's just confirm that race result once more before we do take a break. A win provisionally for Sascha Lentz, but an excellent drive from Sascha. Second place going the way of Norbert Kish, and then Theo Calve taking third. Antonio Alberthetti, returning to the series, having missed the previous meeting, takes fourth, echoing his best results of the season. Bjorn Teichhaus, another really good, strong effort. Ran well early on, as we saw, running briefly in second spot. He takes fifth. Adam Nachko is the man that rounds out the top 6. Seventh goes the way of Jonathan Andre. He was roughed up a bit at the start, never really was able to fight back. And eighth place goes the way of Jamie Anderson. Well, he was on pole for the reverse grid race, if you remember, at Most. Was then given a penalty for a jump start and bailed from the race. So let's hope that everything goes according to plan for Jamie at the start of tonight's second race. And then those that miss out on the reverse grid, 9th and 10th, 9th Alia Colloch, and 10th, with a penalty, of course, Shane Brereton, 30 seconds added for that big push that he gave to Jamie Anderson. So we, as I say, don't for the moment have any further drivers in the waiting room ready to be brought into the English channel. So what we will do instead is go and catch our breath. Sascha Lentz is a winner for the first time in the FIA ETRC Digital Championship. There's another race coming up. You don't want to go far because that promises, with the reverse grid, to be another absolute corker. Before that, though, we'll take a quick break.
At home in Germany, on the go in the world. Every year, up to 20,000 vehicles drive from our depot in the Swabian town of Burtenbach out into the world.
Novum is our new fully revised trailer concept. Novum not only introduced the new external frames and body, but also the new optimally designed Kugel modular system with optimized uniform new modulus assemblies and components.
In the category concept, first place was awarded to Burtenbach.
Kugel's innovative Novum generation trailers have been awarded the International Industry Prize Trailer Innovation 2019 in the Supreme Discipline concept at IAA Commercial Vehicles.
Our mission is to move your freight, thereby making our contribution to your profitability, so that your cargo arrives quickly, safely, and efficiently. Today, tomorrow, always.
At Goodyear, we understand the challenges of business. Your fleet is out on the road working hard, and you need tires you can rely on. Tires that are more innovative, more advanced, more versatile, and most importantly, better for business. Introducing the new K-Max and FuelMax Gen 2 range. K-Max Gen 2. Superb mileage, optimal fuel efficiency, and better all-weather capability. Excellent mileage levels, significantly improved traction throughout the tire life. And FuelMax Gen 2. Exceptional fuel efficiency, increased mileage, and better all-weather capability. Excellent fuel efficiency, significantly improved all-weather capability. Gen 2. More innovative, more advanced, better for business. Welcome to the next generation. The new K-Max and FuelMax Gen 2 range from Goodyear.
At home in Germany, on the go in the world. Every year, up to 20,000 vehicles drive from our depot in the Swabian town of Burtenbach out into the world.
Novum is our new fully revised trailer concept. Novum not only introduced the new external frames and body, but also the new optimally designed Kugel modular system with optimized uniform new modulus assemblies and components.
In the category concept, first place was awarded to Burtenbach.
Kugel's innovative Novum generation trailers have been awarded the International Industry Prize Trailer Innovation 2019 in the Supreme Discipline concept at IAA Commercial Vehicles.
mission is to move your freight, thereby making our contribution to your profitability, so that your cargo arrives quickly, safely, and efficiently. Today, tomorrow, always.
At Goodyear, we understand the challenges of business. Your fleet is out on the road working hard, and you need tires you can rely on. Tires that are more innovative, more advanced, more versatile, and most importantly, better for business. Introducing the new K-Max and FuelMax Gen 2 range. K-Max Gen 2. Superb mileage, optimal fuel efficiency, and better all-weather capability. Excellent mileage levels, significantly improved traction throughout the tire life. And FuelMax Gen 2. Exceptional fuel efficiency, increased mileage, and better all-weather capability. Excellent fuel efficiency, significantly improved all-weather capability. Gen 2. More innovative, more advanced, better for business. Welcome to the next generation. The new K-Max and FuelMax Gen 2 range from Goodyear.
At home in Germany, on the go in the world. Every year, up to 20,000 vehicles drive from our depot in the Swabian town of Burtenbach out into the world.
Novum is our new fully revised trailer concept. Novum not only introduced the new external frames and body, but also the new optimally designed Kugel modular system with optimized uniform new modulus assemblies and components.
In the category concept, first place was awarded to Burtenbach.
Kugel's innovative Novum generation trailers have been awarded the International Industry Prize Trailer Innovation 2019 in the Supreme Discipline concept at IAA Commercial Vehicles.
mission is to move your freight, thereby making our contribution to your profitability, so that your cargo arrives quickly, safely, and efficiently. Today, tomorrow, always.
Welcome back to Zolder. We're getting ready for race 2 here in the FIA ETRC Digital. Race 1 won by Sascha Lenz. I understand we had 1 or 2 audio dramas, so even though Sascha and I were talking, you couldn't all hear. So let's do it all over again and say, Sascha Lenz, race 1 winner. Finally, you've had the victory, Sascha. Well done. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Was it a tough race?
Yeah, I have a good start, and in the first lap, I look on my back. Theo was, and I think that every time I hope Nobby come not so fast to me, and then I see I have a 10-second on behind from Nobby, and I was so nice feeling when you drive on the first position, and I'm so happy I win the race, and yeah, it was a nice race.
You have waited a long time for this first win, so it must be a really good feeling now to finally have the race win.
Yeah, I wait for the win the race on the beginning from the season, you know, and now yeah, I'm really happy. I have a big luck in the first lap, and yeah, it was nice.
Fantastic. Sascha, well done. Congratulations. Sascha Lenz, finally a race winner in FIA ETRC Digital as we get set now for race 2. Sascha, well done.
Thanks, Dave.
So the drivers will now get themselves ready, join the race server for race 2. The grid, remember, is based on what we saw in that opening race with the top 8 finishers in reverse. Always, therefore, in the last few laps, the battle takes up attention for 8th place, and that was between Jamie Anderson along with Alia Colloch and Shane Britton. Shane was 8th on the road, but he got a 30-second time penalty for pushing, and so he drops down the order accordingly. In other words, Shane Britton goes to the back of the grid, and it's going to be Jamie Anderson who will start on pole position. He did that last time at Moss, got a penalty for jumping the start, so he's got to be really careful not to get it wrong this time. The race due to get underway in about 5 minutes' time, so we can make our way shortly to the circuit, have a look once more at what Zolder is all about, and get ready for what should be another really lively race. This is our 12th race of the season, and it comes from a virtual Zolder, this famous old Belgian circuit near Hasselt. In the championship, Norbert Kish now on 210 points. Sascha Lenz extending his advantage over Theo Calve, courtesy of the win in that last race. But of course, the gap between Norby and Sascha comes down a little bit. Another 10 points gained by Antonio Alberthetti. Jamie Anderson is there now 5th in the championship, with the pole position going his way for this second race. Adam Nachko is 6th. Jose Eduardo Rodriguez not racing this evening. Jonathan Andre puts himself now 8th ahead of Anthony Chaniek. Then you've got Lucas Hahn ahead of Bjorn Tyhouse. Alia Colloch comes next from Clement Tecker, Shane Britton, and the absent Erwin Klein, Nigel Norbert Kish. As I say, continues to build that championship lead, but an important win, definitely, for Sascha Lenz, just to give him, I suppose, some optimism, but also just to stem the advance of Norbert Kish within the championship itself.
The show is on. Start your engines. FIA ETRC is ready to race.
So the Zolder Circuit about to echo once more to race trucks here as we get set for the second race of the evening. There, Jamie Anderson is the driver starting on that pole position. We did in the first race 14 laps. That therefore is going to be the target as we see the results of race one. That win for Sascha Lenz from Norbert Kisch. And third going the way of Theo Calve. Antonio Alberthetti taking fourth place, fifth to Bjorn Teihout and Adam Nachko, sixth Jonathan Andre, seventh Shane Brereton, eighth over the line, but with that 30-second time penalty dropping him behind Jamie Anderson and Alia Colloch. So you see Jamie Anderson it is, who starts now on pole position going into the second race. And in a moment or two, the race officials will give the countdown, ready to release the trucks for our second race. And is this going to be a Norbert Kisch win then? Can he come through? Let's see. There's Jamie Anderson in 23, starting on pole position. With him at the front of the grid is Jonathan Andre. There behind you've got Adam Nachko, I should say, alongside Bjorn Teihout, number 2, of course, Antonio Alberthetti for the T-Sport Bernau squad. And then lining up alongside it is Theo Calve. Next comes Norbert Kisch with Sascha Lenz 8th on the grid as the race one winner. Starting 9th is Alia Colloch and 10th is Shane Brereton after the penalty. So the grid is good, the grid is ready to go. And so here at a virtual Zolder, race 12 of FIA ETRC Digital is set to get underway. The Mercedes Actros there, the official pace truck, is with the lights flashing, set to lead everybody away once Rolf Werner, who is the race director, gives the signal. And is Jamie Anderson going to make absolutely sure that his start is perfect this time around? You bet you he is. So there you see the virtual course cars in the virtual pit lane and the grid all ready to go. Formation lap due to start on the hour, which means any second the signal will be given and the pace truck will accelerate away. Of course, Goodyear is the tyre provider for the FIA ETRC, and therefore it runs as a virtual tyre supplier in the Digital Championship 2. Formation lap is underway. So the official pace truck, the Mercedes Actros, blasts down towards turn 1. Through Eerste and then up towards the Sterrenwegbocht, which in turn takes you to the Kanalbocht. So 14 laps you can anticipate in this race. That's what we had, allowing for the regulation lap tagged on at the end in the opener. And the grid a little bit messy already. In fact, the third row dropping back somewhat, which is where you find Antonio Alberthetti and Theo Calve. But you can anticipate then to make some progress, I would have thought, in the race itself. They ought to be getting up with the leading group. One of the great fascinations in this is to see if anybody can build a lead like Sascha Lenz did earlier on in race 1, while the quick guys are coming up from the 4th and 3rd rows of the grid. Jonathan Andre could be a man to beat in all of this. We know he's quick. He's had a second place this year, and there he is on the front row of the grid. So there's a case to suggest that he might well be a race winner. But, of course, you daren't look far from Norbert Kisch, dare you? Because he is just so fast. He's also eager to have a race weekend with a victory each time out. Normally he does the double, but so far we have yet to see a race weekend where Norby hasn't had at least one win. Could that be this one? Let's see. Through the Telamenbocht they come. And now on the power, you look back from the rig of Jamie Anderson. Jonathan Andre lining up alongside him there. Adam Nachko in 55, the European champion of 17. And Antonio Alberthetti, a triple European champion, a row further back as well, lining up alongside Theo Calve. So This is coming through turn 8, where Jamie Anderson runs out of road. So Adam Nachko has to lift to make sure that he doesn't go ahead of the pole man, but Jamie Anderson gets that little slip, hopefully, out of his system rather than in the race. Now the field starts to make the run up towards the chicane. And so there into the pit road goes the pace truck. And now then, race 12 in the FIA ETRC Digital is about to get underway. Reverse grid races this year have occasionally seen red flags. Let's hope we don't have them here. Let's hope it's going to be a good, clean start and a good, clean run through turn 1. And Jamie Anderson now hears the green, green, green call from race control. He powers away. So does Norbert Kish. So does Alia Colloch as they all flash past us. Anderson leads down towards turn 1. That's Nachko diving up the inside. Does he go through? He leans on Anderson, who leads on Andre. Tiehouse gets up the inside. Is Calve coming through? There's mayhem. Off the road has gone, I think, Alia Colloch. And are we going to have the race continue? Seemingly, yes. But I'm afraid that was a dive bomb by Adam Nachko that has really spelt drama. And no, we have a red flag. We have a red flag. So the race officials, yet again, decide that because of driving standards, it's not fair. And Theo Calve will be massively grumpy about that because he's the race leader. But you could argue it was only thanks to his teammate Zealotry that he had the race lead. So we'll do it all over again. Red flag. Restart. Can't really do this in the real world, but to try and ensure fair play, we are going to do it in the virtual world. So, you know what I said about red flags and reverse grid races? They're bedfellows once again. The start is under investigation. It was Adam Nachko, wasn't it, from the second row of the grid who made that dive up the inside and with all the speed carried, lent on Jamie Anderson, who lent on Jonathan Andre. And then, of course, as trucks get pushed wide, they come back onto the circuit. Contact is inevitable. And Alia Colloch was one that really came off badly. So we will get them all lined up. The officials will have a look at what went on. The drivers have to leave the server. They'll then rejoin on instruction, ready for the restart of the second race. And when we do go racing, let's hope that we have a cleaner run through turn 1. That was the fear. And Adam Nachko, I'm afraid, was the man that was the catalyst for that. So he might be under investigation as well. So race 2 is coming up after a quick break.
At Goodyear, we understand the challenges of business. Your fleet is out on the road working hard, and you need tyres you can rely on. Tyres that are more innovative, more advanced, more versatile, and most importantly, better for business. Introducing the new K-Max and FuelMax Gen 2 range. K-Max Gen 2. Superb mileage, optimal fuel efficiency, and better all-weather capability. Excellent mileage levels, significantly improved traction throughout the tyre life. And FuelMax Gen 2. Exceptional fuel efficiency, increased mileage, and better all-weather capability. Excellent fuel efficiency, significantly improved all-weather capability. Gen 2. More innovative, more advanced, better for business. Welcome to the next generation. The new K-Max and FuelMax Gen 2 range from Goodyear.
At home in Germany, on the go in the world. Every year, up to 20,000 vehicles drive from our depot in the Swabian town of Burtenbach out into the world.
Novum is our new fully revised trailer concept. Novum not only introduced the new external frames and body, but also the new optimally designed Kugel modular system with optimized uniform new modulus assemblies and components.
In the category concept, first place was awarded to Burtenbach.
Kugel's innovative Novum generation trailers have been awarded the International Industry Prize Trailer Innovation 2019 in the Supreme Discipline concept at IAA Commercial Vehicles.
So, we're almost ready to go again here at Zolda. The drivers joining the race server, and there are warnings being given to Adam Nachko, to Sascha Lenz, and also Norbert Kisch for pushing on that original start. Well, the formation lap is underway. Trucks are on track, and so the 25-minute countdown has begun. We'll be going racing then at the end of this lap, and fingers crossed we'll get through turn one without any dramas this time around. There you see the front row of the grid being Jamie Anderson, pole position from 8th in the earlier race, and Jonathan Andre lining up alongside. Second row is the aggressor from that first attempt at the start, Adam Lachko, and Bjorn Teichhaus lining up alongside him. Antonio Alberthetti sharing the third row with Theo Calve. Norbert Kisch is on row 4 with the race 1 winner Sascha Lenz, and then you've got Alia Colloch and Shane Brereton at the rear of the grid. Now, the last time we had a red flag, Shane didn't make it back for the restart, so I'm hoping that he is there and all is well. You can't really miss the purple Apollo tyres truck. So there it goes through the shot. Who's going to win it? Is it going to be a Norbert Kisch victory? Theo Calve was away and gone, of course, before we had that stoppage, but now hopefully the drivers will be a bit more cautious going through the first corner. For some there was disappointment, for some there was an advantage, but the race officials, headed by the race director Rolf Erner, saying we don't want contact and crashing at the first corner. We are going to have clean racing, so we'll do it all over again. And without the necessity for a long stoppage, as you would have to under an FIA countdown, you can do it in a digital series. It's easily able to restart the race. Look back then from the pace truck, and down come the rigs towards turn 8. Jonathan Andre in the very distinctive yellow MAN. Jamie Anderson, who ran out of road here on the earlier formation lap, but he runs out wide again, doesn't he? All over the curb on the outside. So he's not quite good at out of his system. Jamie will be hopefully as good this time around as he was at the first effort on the start. by which I mean he wasn't remotely in advance, unlike at Moss where he got a penalty. So let's see whether this is going to be a cleaner start and a tidier start, but also a good start for Jamie Anderson in particular, and whether or not he's going to be able to hang on to the advantage down towards turn 1. How long is it going to take Norbert Kish to come through the pack? Pace truck down the pit lane. Race 2 at Zolder, almost ready to go. Adam Nachko then, he's got a warning. So has Lentz, so has Kish. So you've got 3 big names here, all with a Damocletian investigation over them. As the signal is given to go green, everybody accelerates away now. And Jamie Anderson does grab the advantage. Now, what does Adam Nachko do this time? Does he try and force the issue on the inside? There is a gap, but he does have a cheeky look, but he's not going to be able to go through. Andre gets run out wide. Where's Norbert Kish? Has he benefited in all of this? He's on the outside coming up towards turn 2. And so Jamie Anderson it is who leads the pack then. There in second place is Jonathan Andre. Third is Tyhouse. Fourth is Theo Calve. And up to 5th is about to go Norbert Kish. He's alongside Nachko. He's already clear of Lentz then. Andre still attacking. Alberthetti is in the weeds coming out of turn 3, the Canal Bocht. And Bjorn Tyhouse, with nowhere to go, is stuck behind a rolling roadblock, because right there ahead of him, still side by side, Anderson and Andre, just as they were on the rolling lap. It won't be long, surely, before Norbert Kish either hits the front or hits the back of Tyhouse, because they're very close indeed into the chicane. Tyhouse tries to get up the inside line there. Can he do it? No, he can't. And Norbert Kish finds the road blocked ahead of him. So it is Anderson leading the way. Second is Andre. Third is Calve now. And whoops, contact there. Tyhouse is all sideways. Where's Norbert Kish? Is he on the road? Yes, he is. Bang! Contact, a spin, and Norbert Kish is in strife at the Talarmenboch. Now, who was that he connected with? I think it was Calve, but that drops Norbert Kish now to the back of the pack. So he got crowded out, got put onto the grass, lost it under braking, and around went the championship leader. And now we are, for the first time, looking at Norbert Kish not winning a single race out of the 2 at a weekend that normally he dominates, of course, by a double. And here now, the field accelerating its way up towards the end of lap 1. But right now, you can see there, Norbert Kish is in strife as off the road has just gone. Who was that? Was that Alberthetti getting it wrong? Certainly one was all sideways coming out of turn 8. Yes, I think it was Antonio Alberthetti. Now, in the meantime, that's Norbert Kish coming up towards the chicane, and Jamie Anderson leads at the end of lap 1. Bjorn Tyhouse is under investigation, however, so he was involved with Norbert Kish. The field turning their way now up through turn 2, and there are the 3 race leaders. So you've got up front 23, that's Jamie Anderson. On his tail, Jonathan Andre. On his tail, fellow French ace Theo Calve. Sacha Lentz is 4th. Under investigation, but still 5th, is Bjorn Tyhouse. And then in 6th, it's Adam Nachko ahead of Alia Colloch, and Norbert Kish is 8th. We're getting a warning for Norbert Kish for pushing, even though it was the bite a bit, because off the road he did go. He's already got himself up past Shane Brereton. And Antonio Alberthetti it was that went off the road, and he's in 10th place. Here are the race leaders then. We are on lap 3. Pace lap count. 17 Britons under investigation as well. And here coming over the brow, Jamie Anderson just getting away a little bit then as the Franco fight rages on behind him. It's Jonathan Andre just ahead of Nürburgring Victor Theo Calve. Lentz is there in 4th, having had 1 win this evening. But Jamie Anderson is another driver that would be a really popular victor here, because he's worked so hard. The Anderson Commercials entry of the former rallyman. And as he accelerates now up towards turn 8, that's Alia Colloch in strife. Theo Calve being looked at for pushing another vehicle as well. So it's a typical gloves off, fractious race 2 as everybody tries to come carving through and see how their grid positions will affect their results. Kish on the back there of Nachko, look. Norbert, not surprisingly, was the man that got the fastest lap of the race in the first one. Right now, though, Norbert Kish versus Adam Nachko, bonneted Freightliner cab over MAN of this new team that Norbert's put together himself, defecting from Tankpool Vierungsvansig and the Mercedes brand to go to the MAN this year. Over the line, comes Jamie Anderson then, with not only Jonathan Andre but also Theo Calve now riding shotgun. So it is 3 for the lead. It's going to be 4 before long as well. Lentz, very much in focus here, is Sascha Lentz, getting closer and closer all the while. So Sascha Lentz goes through turn 3. Calve looks for a way past Andre. Anderson with the back wagging on the MAN. Holds sway right now to the inside line there. Looks Theo Calve. No way through. The 3 leaders then on the power. Jamie Anderson holds sway, half a second to the good, but what he can't do is shake off the 2 French drivers behind. And look, Lentz is there. Lentz is with them. Next up is Tiehouse. And then Norbert Kish is going to go ahead of Nachko. Is he round the outside of the chicane? Job done all over the curb, but through he has gone. So that gives Norbert Kish now 6th position. In fact, the way that he's going and the way that they're all squabbling up the road and not being able to get past Anderson, I reckon he could win this race yet, because he's going to catch this leading gaggle, that's for sure. And then, the way that they're all playing at the moment, he is possibly, with his racecraft and his sim knowledge, going to be able to get up and past them. Norbert Kish is very much the benchmark driver. So Jamie Anderson it is who leads the way. But right now, Bjorn Tiehouse is the only person really that's going to be able to defend before Norbert Kish is able to charge on and get up with this leading gaggle. And then when he does, let's wait and see how quickly he can get through the traffic. Down they come, into the chicane here. So Jamie Anderson leads. He's got to keep on pushing. He knows that. Now, granted, when Kish does catch this battle, Lentz won't be an easy nut to crack, nor will Calve. Jonathan Andre's competitive too, so he might not come storming past, but he's about to pick off Tiehouse. Look in the background. Norbert Kish levels with Tiehouse as they come over the line. The leaders go through turn 1, and way out wide is Jamie Anderson. Is that going to compromise the run into turn 2 now? Let's see. He swings into the right-hander. Theo Calve, you get the feeling as well, is being held up a little bit here by Jonathan Andre. Sascha Lentz has done the fastest lap. Norbert Kish under investigation for pushing another truck. So he's already had 1 investigation for the opening lap. There is Shane Brereton ahead of a sideways, Antonio Alberthetti. And through they turn. So number 40, warning for pushing, confirmation. There it comes, Norbert Kish, who has had a win at every event, at least a win at every event we've been to this year. For the early part of the season, it was all doubles, wasn't it? He had 3 doubles in a row. And right now there, look, Calve looks to try to get past Jonathan Andre, but the width of the circuit problem remains. Andre just drifts across and gets right into the face of a hard-charging Calve behind him. Now Calve to the curb on the inside line. Suddenly, life changes for young Theo. He's got to try and attack, but defend at the same time. Lentz right there behind him. Calve, he's also had a finger wagging for pushing. Comes down towards turn 8. Jonathan Andre is ahead of him still. Lentz, the race 1 winner, is there in 4th spot. Sideways, Andre on the loud pedal coming out of the turn 8 right-hander through that little wiggle of the Jochen Rindt bocht. And now up towards the end of lap 5 they come. Jamie Anderson still leads. He's extending the advantage ever so slightly as Andre is busy defending from Calve. But where does the Freightliner make its move? The bonneted truck always looks that little bit more stable, and right now it's almost hidden behind Andre as they come over the line. There's Sascha Lentz with the MAN in 4th position. Norbert Kish is 5th. So Sascha Lentz so far has done the fastest lap. Now make that Norbert Kish, because he's just gone into the 1:57s. He's absolutely flying. Calve would fly if he weren't stuck behind his fellow countryman. Jonathan Andre then ahead of him. In 4th place still remains Lentz. Now the race leaders here work lap 6 out of a projected 14. 13 minutes remain, of course, plus a lap into the braking zone. Anderson, Andre, there is Calve, who's going to run out of road all over the curb. This gives Lentz a chance to challenge. And now also being given a warning for pushing is Antonio Alberthetti against Shane Brereton. And that's Brereton. That was the push. So Shane Brayton disconnects. That's him done. So Shane Brayton is a retirement, and he's not having a really happy time, it's got to be said, in all of this. So Shane Brayton dealt with, if you like, by Antonio Alberthetti, but the fact that he's now retired from the race might just increase the penalty or increase the scrutiny of Antonio Alberthetti by race control. That's Anderson. He leads. Andre, Calve, Lentz, wait for Kish. There he is. He's virtually with them. And with 12 minutes and change, plus a lap to go, I still think Norbert for the podium is on, but a race win, don't rule it out, because we know just how good he is. Now there is Calve, still frustrated that he can't find a way past Jonathan Andre. Comes out of the chicane, heading now up once again towards the timing line. A distinctive flat sound as the trucks rumble past the pits. Jamie Anderson then on target. Could he be for a maiden victory? No further action against Bjorn Tyhouse for pushing. That was looked into and put to one side. So right now, second and third, Theo Calve tries to go wide into two, get the undercut for three, and it could be on. No, gets sideways. Is the door going to remain open for Theo Calve to challenge? No, it does not. Andre fends him off. No further action also against Shane Brayton for an earlier push. So Shane, even though he's out of the race, won't have a case to answer from a separate incident. So there's Jamie Anderson heading into the braking zone. We'll go into the left and the right. There behind him you see the Jonathan Andre Theo Calve battle. Lentz and Kish right there. Sideways again is Calve. He just goes a little bit too rapidly into that chicane, it seems, so that means that the back spits out of line. He's certainly quick, and I still think could go quicker were it not for having Andre in the way. Norbert Kish in the background there, riding the curbs. Lentz look right up there behind Theo Calve. Through they come. Now, what is happening as the battle rages on for second place, look, is that Jamie Anderson is getting away. He's now 1.7 seconds clear. Down he comes. The Anderson Commercials entry through turn 8. Lentz is sideways. Norbert Kish brakes, doesn't take advantage of that for fear of any penalty. But as the leaders head towards us now, Jamie Anderson it is in charge. Through they turn. A sideways Andre. No further action to Theo Calve for earlier contact. But Calve has tried most things to dislodge Jonathan Andre, but he can't do it. Past the pits they go again. He looks to the inside line. Calve's been given a warning about track limits though now. And Jonathan Andre is still there in front of him. When he goes to sleep tonight, Theo Calve is going to have a yellow truck, I think, burnt onto his eyeballs, because that's all he's been staring at for the bulk of the race. The MAN second, the Freightliner third, there they are. And you can see as they lean, as they slide, as they drift, they are on the limit here. Norbert Kish more so, because he's off the road and back on again. 9 minutes are on the clock now as Anderson powers on. Still trying to build that gap here. Sasha Lentz has a look to the inside of Theo Calve. Can't find a way through, but not for the want of trying. And there's Alberthetti, who's got himself onto the back of Alia Colloch now for 8th place. Antonio, real world winner here last year, but he's had a disappointing evening, sadly, on his return to the Digital Championship. He looks to the inside line. The gap is there, but no, Alia Colloch cuts across the front. Antonio hits the brakes. Hits the brakes, yes, does not, thankfully, hit the back of the Freightliner. So the race leaders flash by, and Jamie Anderson it is who is still in charge, but only just down at turn 8 with Andre, Calve, Lentz, Kish as one. You get the feeling that anything in this could erupt at any moment. It only takes one tiny slip from any of them, and it'll all change in a twinkling. So Jamie Anderson's 1.7 second advantage has disparued, because the French duo, Andre and Calve, right there behind as they come out of the Jackie X-Box now. In 5th place, Norbert Kish lining up to have a go against Sasha Lentz as they come over the line here. Norby has a think to the inside, not able to do it there. Down they come into turn 1. And there is Jamie Anderson, who is on the attack once again in terms of trying to build up that lead. Jonathan Andre's pace is rather affected by how Theo Calve attacks him, and that in turn is affected by Lentz attacking him. But right now Lentz has to defend from Kish, so Calve can attack Andre, which means that Andre has to defend and Anderson can try and build the gap again. It's not working though, because what was a second at the start of the lap's down to 8:10. So there, look, Kish to the inside, to the inside, to the inside. No, Lentz fends him off just coming into the chicane. So the Ravenol Sonax backed MAN of Lentz, keeping the Team Revesh entry at bay for the moment at any rate. Kish dives to the inside. Lentz is there, tapping the tail. Kish getting frustrated now. 6 3/4 minutes still to run here. And you see now, because Lentz has to defend, suddenly how he falls away from Calve in third place. But Theo is running out of ideas against Jonathan Andre, who is doing a really good job here, resolutely sitting in that second place. There is Jamie Anderson, up to a 2.5 seconds clear of the sideways Jonathan Andre, the MAN ahead of the Freightliner. Theo Calve, the one bonneted rig, of course, his Freightliner within the phalanx of cab over MANs leading the pack. Out of shot, 6th is Tie House, 7th is Nachko, there he is, and 8th is Alberthetti with 9th Alia Colloch. There is Alberthetti. Through he comes, Antonio in 8th spot, riding the curbs. And through the field, accelerates once again. So under the Excalibur Army gantry comes Antonio Alberthetti, turning his way now once more up towards the timing line. And as they go through, let's see, is that going to be an opportunity for Alberthetti to shake off Alia Colloch? The gap just over a second, and potentially growing as they dive down towards turn 1. It's growing for the race lead, isn't it? 1.7 seconds. It was just 1.8 over Andre. Comes down a smidge, but Andre taking Calve with him, still squabbling for second place, still hunting down the race leader. There they go, into the chicane once again. Jonathan Andre over the curb, back onto the power. Calve tries the outside going into the Tellermann-Bocht. Can't go through. Now what he wants is the wide line for the previous bit, the inside for this corner, the exit. Gets it, but then that corner carries on turning, so you can't stay alongside there unless you've got the initial apex, and he has to drop back. This next section, of course, the run up to turn 8 is where Norbert Kish was really demon in the first race, and here he comes again. He's up the inside of Lentz. This is going to end badly. Contact against Calve, knocks him sideways. Kish leans on Lentz, runs him out wide all over the dirt. Calve drops back from Andre. Look in the background, Kish and Lentz are still hard at it. Kish is ahead. Lentz has the inside line for the chicane. Who is going to break the latest? Norbert Kish gets his nose in front. He's on the wrong line for part 1, the better line for part 2. But then the next corner should go Lentz's way, and he's back ahead as the leaders come over the line. However, all of that fun and games has given Jamie Anderson a much, much bigger gap now over Andre, who in turn has got a much bigger gap over Theo Calve. There's a sideways Lentz running 4th, and Norbert Kish is still whispering, only 5th. This could be his worst finish of the entire season. Jamie Anderson then, with 3.5 on the clock plus a lap, leads the pack here. You're looking back from Sasha Lentz's MAN at the similar track behind, run by a different team, admittedly, that of Norbert Kish. Here they come, up now towards the small chicane. Brake hard, turn in. Now this is where Kish starts to mount the challenge, to line up to have a go for the Talaman box section, which is where he had his spin, of course, on the first lap. Is he going to be able to dive bomb on the inside? He's not. Calve is still stuck behind Jonathan Andre. He's running out of ideas, isn't he, here? So there going through is Sasha Lentz. And Jamie Anderson is looking now as though he's going to win this, barring a mistake, because he's managed to build enough of a gap. Andre is still having to fend off Calve. Down they come. Jonathan Andre is set to equal his best of the season. For Jamie Anderson, it will be very much his best of the year. And for Norby Kish, his worst. Can you believe it? Only 5th for the dominant man from the season start. He'll keep the championship lead. He'll lose another couple of points relative to Sasha Lentz if he stays behind him. And Norby has no intention of staying behind as they come now into the chicane. It all stemmed from him missing, of course, the qualifying session. We've not really got to the bottom of why it happened, but happened it did, and so it's put him on the back foot for the evening as the leaders go by here. Andre, Calve, second, third. That's turn 1. 1 minute and 45 on the clock. Now, what have we done? This is lap 11. Through they turn. Jamie Anderson with potentially a slower race pace here, hanging on to the race lead, but behind him it's Andre, then Calve, Lentz and Kish rounding out that leading quintet. Sasha Lentz look clawing all over the curb. Norby Kish stays behind as they come from the Lucien Bianchi box down towards the chicane, heading towards us. This section of the circuit, perhaps more than any other, gives you the idea of just how narrow Zolder is. And this chicane, very important to get a good run through it for the next section of circuit. Calve does just that. He's on the attack against Andre, who's driven a great race in terms of his defence. So has Lentz, keeping Kish at bay as they drop now down towards the Talaman box once again. This section at turn 7. Calve under attack. Kish crawling all over the back of Lentz, who likewise is right there, almost hooked onto the tail of Calve. I said a few laps back that you were thinking anything might explode out of this any second. It could even more so happen now because the 4 are as one. Not only are they as one, but they're all getting frustrated that they can't make progress. Kish has challenged against Lentz in the past. Lentz gets into the back of Calve. That's forced him out wide. He's sideways all over the dirt. He comes across the road, loses a spot to Lentz, and he's going to lose a place to Kish as well. But that might well get looked at by race control. That was a certain assist from Lentz against Calve, and it has broken up that pack. Now, are they going to hit the timing line before the time is up? Let's see. 0 on the clock now, and they will break the beam. So, yeah, onto the last lap they go. It's going to be a 13-lap race this time. Slightly slower pace, therefore. 1 lap less than we got in race 1. They're on the final lap, but I'm waiting to see if anything comes against Sasha Lentz for a push, maybe, on Theo Calve, because it's dropped Calve down from 3rd to 5th. And it wouldn't be a surprise, I think, if the Bagheera Racing Squad had a look at that with race control. I suspect a protest may come. So it is now Jonathan Andre 2nd ahead of Lentz 3rd and Kish 4th. Calve down to 5th place. Through they turn. Last time out of the Lucien Bianchi box. Last time up towards the chicane. So Jamie Anderson looks as though it's going to be his day of days in esports racing, because in the 12th race within FIA ETRC Digital, he is the leader. Norbert Kish has still not given up in his quest to get past Sasha Lentz. Just because they're 1 position higher up the order does not mean he doesn't want to get by. And Calve, Lentz, Kish under investigation for the incident that we've just been talking about. So out of turn 8 in a moment they will come. That's Andre still in 2nd spot. Kish at the back of this group, running 4th. Where's Calve? Has he fallen away? No, he's still there in 5th spot. So can Calve pounce against Kish? Let's see. But for Jamie Anderson, it does look as though a race win is finally going to go his way. Don't muck it up from here, Jamie. Don't run wide. Kish round the outside of Lentz. Calve up the inside of Lentz. There's more elbowing. There's more pushing. And Calve goes ahead of Norbert Kish and gets at least 1 spot back then. So Jamie Anderson it is. He leads with a corner to go. 2nd is Jonathan Andre, and 3rd is going to be on the road, seemingly, Sasha Lentz. ahead of Theo Calve, and then Norbert Kish as they make the run up towards the line. We have a British winner and a maiden winner. Jamie Anderson wins in FIA ETRC Digital here at Zolder. Calve is under a separate investigation for his aggression on the last lap of the race. So they come across the line in an order that may well not be reflected in the results. Anderson on track wins through Jonathan Andre and Sasha Lentz. Fourth, Theo Calve, Norbert Kish fifth. There for sixth is Bjorn Teichhaus. Seventh goes the way of Adam Nachko, and eighth should be Antonio Alberthetti. Yes, it is, with ninth going to Alia Colloch, and no other finishers. We lost, of course, Shane Brereton. So the drivers now have the opportunity to protest if they feel that's a good idea, if they need to, if they're grumpy about anything. The officials, though, have got an awful lot to look at because there was a fair bit of pushing and elbowing over the course of the race, inevitably, you could argue. And so I've rather lost track of the number of times that we had Theo Calve under investigation. 1, 2 from the final lap. He got a warning about track limits and then 2 for contact. So Calve certainly it could be in for a finger wagging. Depends, though, what evidence, if any, the officials find. They'll have a look, and of course, you see something in the heat of the moment. When you analyse it and you have other camera angles to look at, you realise that maybe there were contributing factors. But Jamie Anderson is the hero of the hour. He comes through to score the win. We will be able to have a word with him in our English stream room hopefully shortly. And of course, it'll be for the podium, Jamie Anderson, Jonathan Andre and Sasha Lentz provisionally. Emphasise the word at the end of our second race of the evening here at Zolder. Next stop will be Le Mans. After that, it will be Jarama. So Jamie Anderson makes his way down the pit lane. And Norbert Kish behind him. But a top three of Jamie Anderson, Jonathan Andre and Sasha Lentz for the podium. And it will be a delighted Jamie Anderson, of course, race winner here at Zolder. So, for the first time, Norbert Kish goes a whole event without a race win. Sasha Lentz takes honours in the first race. And, of course, now Jamie Anderson, the victor in race 2. We'll try and drag, if we can, Jamie into the English streaming channel and have a word with him, with Jonathan Andre taking that second place. Great racing, as ever, from the reverse grid. Yes, it's a bit frantic, and yes, yet again, we had to have a red flag to sort out the melee of the first corner and give people a fair crack of the whip. But as we wait for Jamie Anderson, let's try and talk to Theo Calve, who ended up in 4th position in the end. Theo, a really tough race for you. Big battle early on with Jonathan, and then it got a bit physical towards the end of the race.
Yes, we have a really great battle with all the competitors, all the top 5, with Jonathan and also Sasha and Norby. At the end, it was a little bit intense, but we had a good race.
That truck of Jonathan Andre seemed to get wider every time you tried to challenge. There was just no room to get past, was there?
Yeah, I tried to overtake him, but that was difficult. He closed the door, so I can't do anything.
And then towards the end, you got a big whack that turned you sideways, a big crash, a big impact, and you lost a couple of places. So big disappointment. You got one back, but not a podium after all.
Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed because, Sasha hit me, or Norby, I don't know who hit me, but I don't say anything, and someone pushed me, so I go out, and I went out, and it's okay. It's a game, so we don't care.
Well, Theo, well done. It was a very spectacular race to watch. Congratulations on provisionally 4th place here at Zolder. Well done.
Yes, thank you.
So Theo Calve 4th. Now, Sasha Lentz has been a race winner, but in race 2, Sasha Lentz taking 3rd place on the road. Sasha, a really tough race that.
Yeah, but it was a really hard race. And I have a small contact with Theo, but I become the first. It was I become for Nobby on my back and push me, and then I push Theo. This was the point, was a situation, but okay, sorry.
But you were able to keep Norby behind, so you've taken some points off him in the championship. That's good.
Yeah, that's good. But Nobby has so many points in the front, and I look off me and of Theo, and I look not up. I become Nobby or not.
Well, Sasha, it's been a really good evening. A podium in race 2, and of course that first win in the first race. Many congratulations. Well done.
Thank you very much.
So great job by Sasha Lentz, a win and a third in the races this evening. We're just trying to find Jamie Anderson. You see the virtual podium there. Jamie Anderson for Anthony Janiek's track. Jonathan Andre second, Sasha Lentz third. And we've got Jamie Anderson. Jamie, well done. Finally, a podium and a race win. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, it was good in the end. It just takes time, doesn't it? So.
That was a hard race, I guess, because you were trying to defend early on and not put a wheel wrong. And only late race did you start to get away.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I've not had much time to be able to go on the simulator all week. We had a bit of practice this morning, about 15 laps or so. But yeah, it's difficult. It's very different to the realistic factor.
You talk about time on the sim as well. How hard is it now that the world is unlocking? Because presumably you've got to think about your business far more than you did a few months ago.
Yeah, definitely. You know, that's considered to take over quite a lot, which that means I haven't had the ability to go on the sim. But, you know, it's a business that pays the racing, so you have to prioritise sometimes.
Absolutely. Well, Jamie, it's been great to see how you progressed in the virtual world and a race win. Fantastic job. Well done. So a good job for Jamie Anderson. Now, let's talk to Norbert Kish. We have to have a conversation with Norby. We have done so at every event thus far, normally to talk about either 1 or 2 race victories. Norbert, what's happened tonight? Not a win. Something's gone wrong in the world.
Yeah, you know, it's just life. I don't know if you know the story, but I was in the Hungarian television for the Formula One. I'm an expert in the Hungarian television for the Formula One broadcast, and that's why I had to miss the qualifying because I couldn't get home in time.
I see.
For the qualifying, and yeah, you know, I had to start from last place, and you know, second from last place in the first race was not bad. I think so. I was happy with that result, but the second race was that was really crazy. Because on the first lap I was pushed out to the grass on the worst possible place before the Villeneuve chicane, and had quite a big crash. And yeah, I was again at the end of the field with a big margin to try to get back from.
Sure.
And yeah, you know, this is what I could do.
Well, the championship lead is still there. It's still a big advantage. So a decent night, if not a brilliant night.
Yeah, it wasn't the best, but you know, coming from so far from the back in both races, it's definitely difficult. And also Zolder is, as we could see, it's quite a hard place to overtake.
Sure. Yeah.
It was really difficult to find a place to overtake. So yeah, you know, maybe next time.
Indeed. Well, Norbert, well done. Thanks for telling us the story. We were wondering why you'd missed qualifying. Now we know. It's because you're a TV star.
Not really a TV star, but yeah, it's I had to be there. You know, it was the Hungarian GP. You know, it's it's the home GP for us, so we tried to be there on the television.
Of course, Norbert. Well done. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.
So Norbert Kish then maintains his lead in the championship, and a great job by Norby, having to battle his way from 10th in race 1 and therefore 7th on that reverse grid in the second race. Well, 2 new winners, and the first time we've had a weekend or a race event without Norbert Kish scoring a victory. 2 fresh winners as well, Jamie Anderson and Sasha Lentz from that earlier race. We've got only 2 more events to go. Harama will round out the season, but of course the next round will be from Le Mans in a couple of weeks' time. That's it from the studio. We'll see you in a fortnight. Let's have a look at some of the best bits, though, of Zolder at the end of the FIA ETRC Digital's virtual visit to Belgium, where Sacha Lentz and Jamie Anderson have taken race wins. Bye for now.